She mentioned the environment and the work that her husband, Prince Philip, had done, and the work that her son, Prince Charles, and his son, Prince William, have continued to do. But she didn't mention Prince Harry once in either of those speeches.
You know, a lot of people would say that this would be a good opportunity for, Harry to really make amends with his father and his brother. But I agree that it could also take the spotlight away from the Queen, whose, celebrations these really are. Do you predict any making of amends in this next year between Harry, Charles, and William?
It would be a really good opportunity, wouldn't it? And I think that sometimes all families might use a special occasion or an event to put some things behind them that maybe have been causing trouble. And it's not unusual in families to have squabbles and tensions, though, of course, the squabbles and tensions that this family are talking about are very unique. It's not many people who go on primetime TV around the world to accuse their father of cutting off millions of pounds that they were banking on having. But if we dig underneath that and we just look at the idea of this being a family argument with real emotions and real people involved, yes, it probably is something they would all like to be able to make peace over. So I think that started already. I mean, we've seen Prince Charles already actually this week write in, I think, a US magazine, and he mentioned both his sons in terms of their work about the environment, their work in terms of promoting environmentalism. That's certainly a shift from what the Queen did. She's now twice made speeches, both at COP26 and her Christmas Day speech on television, where she mentioned the environment and the work that her husband, Prince Philip, had done, and the work that her son, Prince Charles, and his son, Prince William, have continued to do. But she didn't mention Prince Harry once in either of those speeches. Now, I don't think that was vindictive. I think that was because she was talking about the senior working royals, and Prince Harry stepped down from that position. So I think it was quite proper of her. But Prince Charles has made a point of mentioning both his sons. So I think that's perhaps a peace offering, let's say, in the court of public opinion, played out in a magazine, which appears to be the way that Meghan and Harry like to do things. So in a sense, he's making a peace offering and he's doing it on their turf, that is to say, in the public gaze. The royal family would have liked to deal with this squabble quietly, privately, behind closed doors. Meghan and Harry haven't given them that option, and I suspect that every time they've tried to do that, we've seen leaks or we've seen further allegations and accusations made by Meghan and Harry against their family. So they're going to have to find new ways to do that, and hopefully this Jubilee year will be the opportunity for them to do so.
Right. But then we had that big book coming out from Harry next year or this year as well. Have you heard any rumblings about what's going to be included in this book? And then there's also some reports that Harry and Meghan may be leaving Montecito as well. So it seems like there's a lot going on with them in the next couple of months.
That's right. I think we can always expect a lot going on with them all the time, because once they had currency because they were royalty and people were interested in what they're doing, that is still there, but that's going to wear off. So I suspect they're going to have to behave as other celebrities, mere non-royal celebrities do, and just have plenty of controversy and excitement generated in other ways if they want to keep their high public profile. So yes, there is that book that Prince Harry is going to release. The date, I think, was mooted as late 2022. So that means it will be coming in that Jubilee year. I don't think there's been a firm date given that I've seen yet, and I think we might see them moving it about if we hear rumours about when it might be coming out in reaction to what's going on in the royal family. Remember when they did that big interview, they had to move it around a little bit then because of Prince Philip's health, and I think they didn't want to seem insensitive, or more insensitive, let's say, than they did in the timing of it. So the same might happen with the book. And I think that we can expect plenty of explosive and controversial statements in the book, because there's plenty for Prince Harry to write about there. I mean, he certainly had a colourful life, whether it's been his sort of party period, and he was sent into a sort of symbolic one day of rehab once for smoking cannabis, I think, by his father, Prince Charles, and that was when he was much younger. He also dressed up as a Nazi once, and that was pictured in the UK tabloids. He played strip pool, I think, or snooker once in Vegas. So all of those sorts of stories were actually some of the things that British people loved about him. He was something of a lovable rogue. So he can tell all those stories. He can tell about his time in the armed forces, and he actually saw action. And of course, he will tell about how it must have felt being caught up in the Charles and Diana story. And of course, the tragic death of his mother, Princess Diana. So plenty that will be in that book, and maybe plenty of things that we aren't expecting. Remember, they're the ones who introduced the idea of racism in the royal family as a theme. They may pursue that a bit more. He may talk more, of course, about leaving the UK and the royal family as a working royal. All of that will be mapped out in more detail, which will be sure to make the book really a bestseller, I think.
Oh, definitely. And then, yeah, if you could just talk about those reports about them possibly leaving Montecito as well.
Yes, it's been rumoured that Meghan and Harry actually aren't happy in their $14 million or thereabouts mansion in Montecito. Quite a lot of bathrooms. I think it had 16 or something, which is more than bedrooms, which stumped me a bit. We make do with one here in Sacerdote Palace. But I think they're obviously not happy where they are, if the rumours are correct. It's said they'll be looking around elsewhere. The rumours have said that they're going to keep looking in the same area, so it must just be the palace/mansion that they have that they're not happy with. It could be that it's much too much for them to handle. It's quite an expensive place to look after, I imagine, or it could be that it's not grand enough. Also, I've heard a few people speculate as to whether or not they might actually leave the area. They might want to be somewhere nearer an air travel hub so that they can make more public appearances in various different parts of America and the world. They may also be moving somewhere where Meghan could start tentatively thinking about a career in politics. I think where they're located now, if that were her aim, is not necessarily the best place for her to be. But this is all massive speculation. I don't have any insider knowledge, I'm afraid, on their thought process. I'm not sure anyone in the world does, actually. I'm not sure it's really a thought process. So whatever we say, if they're looking for a new house, the extraordinary thing is going to be how many times they've moved in the last 2 years. I mean, they moved to Frogmore Cottage from Kensington Palace. They left Frogmore Cottage and fled to Canada, where they lived for a short period temporarily. They then went to the US to live in a temporary accommodation. I think it was a mansion that they were borrowing from a friend. They then moved from there to their current mansion, the $14 million one with the chicken coop. That's all we've been allowed to see. And also the room in which Meghan presented her 40th birthday video. And now they're going to be leaving that. Now, that's an awful lot of moves. I think I would struggle to keep up moving myself in that amount of time. And I'm not talking about moving a palace and kids and dogs and whatever else it is they've got to move. So I think it's a little extraordinary. And I do wonder how people will look at them making all of these big moves from property to property. It does seem a little bit indecisive, a little bit like, I don't know, maybe they're spoiled, constantly looking for something better, or it could just be that they need to find the right place to settle down, bring up their kids and have a quiet life. Who knows?